As the U.S. government shutdown drags on, the Supreme Court has warned it will run out of funds by early next week. Patricia McCabe, Supreme Court Public Information Officer, told The Hill, the Supreme Court expects to run out of funding on October 18th. Federal courts across the nation are also facing imminent funding shortages. McCabe added, as a result, the Supreme Court building will be closed to the public until further notice. The building will remain open for official business. The Supreme Court will continue to conduct essential work such as hearing oral arguments, issuing orders and opinions, processing case filings, and providing police and building support needed for those operations. The Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts noted that federal courts are expected to see their funds deplete by October 20th if the shutdown continues. Federal judges will continue to serve, in accordance with the Constitution, but court staff may only perform certain accepted activities permitted under the Anti-Deficiency Act, the office said. These accepted activities include work necessary to perform constitutional functions for the safety of human life and protection of property, all to be done without pay. Staff not performing expected duties will be furloughed. Jury programs will continue operating, and jurors must follow court instructions. Case information will remain accessible through the public access to court electronic records. Federal courts can perform limited additional work using court fee balances or other funding that does not require new congressional appropriations, particularly over the weekend before funding runs out. Individual courts will decide which cases can continue as scheduled and which must be delayed. The operations of the 94 federal judicial districts may vary based on staffing and available resources. The shutdown, ongoing since October 1st, shows no clear end. Democrats and Republicans have yet to agree on a funding bill, with Democrats blocking the House GOP proposal due to its exclusion of extensions for healthcare subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. The U.S. government shutdown continues as the latest attempt to pass a funding bill failed in the Senate for the 10th time on Thursday. In a 51-45 vote, a funding bill proposed by the Republican Party was blocked once again. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said,
"Well, Mr. President, the Democrat Party is the party that will not take yes for an answer. We offer Democrats a clean, nonpartisan CR, no Republican policies for them to swallow, nothing for them to object to. They said no. We offer to accommodate their health care demands by guaranteeing them a vote on their proposal if they vote to reopen the government. The answer is no. Okay, fine. So we thought if they don't want to fund the government via continuing resolution, we'll give them the chance to fund the government a different way by attempting to move forward with regular order appropriations bills. And once again, the answer was no. Democrats just voted to block the fiscal year 2026 defense appropriations bill, a bill, I would add, that passed the Senate Appropriations Committee by a robust bipartisan margin. 26-3, I think it was. That's right, Mr. President. After voting last week for an authorization bill to increase troop pay, Democrats just voted against the bill that would actually pay the troops. We have to ask the question, why, Mr. President? Because, to quote a recent news story, this is a direct quote, voting to proceed with the defense bill relinquishes some of the party's leverage, end quote. Relinquishes some of the party's leverage. I mean, who really cares, right? If the troops are paid, as long as the Democrats are able to get what they want. Now, Mr. President, I offered up, and I had conversations with Democrats here on the floor, that if we could get on the defense appropriations bill, the interest they have in adding other bills, I would certainly accommodate. And I suggested that that was the business model that we adopted when we passed the first three-bill package. We got on the Milcon VA appropriations bill, and then we worked collectively, both sides, to try and clear adding the Ag Appropriations Bill, the Ledge Branch Appropriations Bill. We tried to add the CJS Appropriations Bill, which was objected to by one member on the Democrat side, but that's how we fashioned getting these appropriation bills on the floor and getting them voted on. Now, if anything should be clear by now, it's that I am interested in doing a normal appropriations process, unlike what happened when they had the majority, which was the Appropriations Committee would report bills out, 11 of the 12 last year. Not a single one was brought to the floor of the Senate. We've done 3 bills. We're trying to go to conference on them. They're blocking that. So now we bring up the Defense Appropriations Bill, something that should get 80 votes on the floor of the Senate, that, as I said, came out of the committee 26-3, and they're blocking it. Now, there's a path forward here to do appropriations. Get on the bill. And then we'll try and add other appropriations bills as we work with both sides to clear objections and concerns that people have. The fact of the matter is, Mr. President, they didn't have to block us even moving to the bill, because there are multiple opportunities, 60-vote threshold opportunities for them to block it later on if they don't like what happens. This is politics. If anything was needed to demonstrate just how fundamentally uninterested Democrats are in supporting our troops and defending our country, just take a look at this vote. Mere months ago, Mr. President, I say mere months ago, Democrats were complaining about all the damage shutdowns do to hardworking Americans. I literally could fill the rest of this hour with Democrat quotes from the past few years about the devastating impacts of shutdowns. Now, Democrats couldn't care less. They're happy to sacrifice any American and evidently any principle to their political goals. Mr. President, Democrats like to position themselves as the party of the little guy and the defender of hardworking Americans. But as this vote makes clear, who do Democrats really care about? Democrats. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
So far, there is no sign of an end to the government shutdown in the near term. Both Democrats and Republicans have refused to make compromises, which led to this vote failure for the 10th time. The two parties traded blame over the consequence. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the 2-week-old federal government shutdown may cost the U.S. economy up to $15 billion a day, which was later corrected by a Treasury official to $15 billion a week.
We call on the moderate Democrats in the Senate to be heroes. Be heroes. Break away from the hive of radicalism and do something for the American people, because we are starting to cut into muscle here. We believe that the shutdown may start costing the U.S. economy up to $15 billion a day, and this is a decision the Democrats are making.